You look at the houses that are on it.
I am calling the Monday, December 5th, 2022 Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Tonight's Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting will be held in person and virtually by using Zoom. As chair, I will be leading the Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting, and the public is welcome to participate when invited throughout the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting in person or join online via Zoom. If attendees experience audio problems, we suggest leaving the meeting and then rejoining. This has usually fixed the issue. Additional instructions on how to participate are posted online at www.burnsvillemn.gov in the public meeting calendar. As usual, tonight's meeting is available for viewing on BC TV and the city's website. If you're unable to participate this evening and would like to submit public testimony, I encourage you to email your comments to city staff or mail your comments directly to City Hall. Now, on to tonight's agenda. Our first area is adoption of the agenda. Do any members of the commission have any changes to the agenda tonight? No. Staff, do you have any changes to tonight's
Nothing
agenda?
from staff.
Perfect. May I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda?
Move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Our second agenda item is our approval of the minutes. And we are looking at the July 18th, 2022 Parks and Natural Resources Commission meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those minutes? All right, staff, are there any changes?
Nothing from staff.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Perfect. Citizen comments. Are there any members of the public on Zoom who wish to speak?
We'll give it a second, but I'm getting no notification that anyone is there.
Perfect. And so tonight we are going to have a special guest with us, recreation programmer Jessica Skalicki. Welcome.
Thank you all so much for having me. My name is Jessica Skalicki. I work as a recreation programmer here at the City of Burnsville. And tonight I'm going to be speaking a little bit about our community engagement sessions that the Recreation Department did over the summer in the summer of 2022. So this was our engagement session schedule. You'll see these 6 dates there, and on each of those 6 dates, we had 2 members of the Burnsville Recreation staff go out to that park for a few hours in the afternoon to engage with the community. So they were in June, July, and August at different parks that we have around the city. And in addition to these 6 engagement sessions listed here, we also went to some community events that were for the entire city. That included the State of the City address, our Public Works open house, the Fire Station open house, and the Citizens Academy. So between these 4 events here and then the 6 parks dates listed on the previous slide, Burnsville Recreation staff attended 10 events this summer in which we had conversations with the community and engaged with them with their thoughts about parks and recreation services in the city of Burnsville. The format for these engagement sessions is we had 2 recreation staff at each session. We, of course, wanted people to talk to us, so we brought candy and snacks and some goodies that were a real hit with kids, including these branded little beach balls. We did bring written survey questions to each one of them, but many of them we found that we, didn't want to go up to somebody and either have a clipboard in our hand saying, answer these questions, or shove something in their face saying, answer these. But so it really turned into a lot of just more casual conversations as opposed to we want to find these very specific answers. And then in addition to having the goodies and the beach balls, we also had different marketing materials, some recreation brochures, specifically our Rec Times magazine for the summer to give to people. So I just want to talk a little bit about the different questions that we had and kind of some answers we found to these different questions. So one of the questions we asked was, what is your favorite park and why? And as we were looking through the answers, it was either the park that we were currently at with them or the park that was closest to their house. And so for many people, for example, that first picture is there from Crystal Beach. Like the vast majority of people at Crystal Beach said, Crystal Beach is my favorite park. And if they didn't, they, like I said, they named the park near their house, which, you know, may be not even bigger than this room, but it just happens to be because it's close to them. That's their favorite. There were some notable parks that people mentioned when they weren't at those parks, and I took a small tally of these that were mentioned, and I noticed the reason these parks specifically were mentioned is because of these, for lack of a better word, like keynote features that we have at each one of them. So we asked why, and so obviously Nicollet Commons, people said, I like it because of the water features. Alamagnet, I love it because of the dog part. Cliff Fen, we actually did one of our engagements at Cliff Fen, but many people at lots of parks said they love it because of the splash pad. Red Oak, because of the adaptive playground and the pickleball courts, and then of course the beach at Crystal Lake. So those were the kind of the biggest ones that people mentioned and or were already at and mentioned were their favorite ones. This was an interesting question. It was the second one that we asked. I was surprised that people mentioned programs that they would like for us to offer that we do offer. A lot of people, when we asked this, they didn't necessarily have something to answer, and it was more so like, I just really enjoy going to the parks. As you may know, lots of people utilize our recreation programs for kids or if they have families. And if they were, didn't have kids or they were just taking a walk, they didn't necessarily know that we had recreation programs. But in any case, people mentioned, as in the second bullet point here, you'll see people said, oh, these are the things I would love to see you offer. And we actually do offer those. And it's story time in the park, kids tennis lessons, sports camps for toddlers, and youth fishing. Again, we talked to like hundreds of people. There wasn't much people said about what they want. They mostly expressed like, I'm just happy going to the park, you know? But those were the ones that we do offer that people didn't know about. And of course, we gave them the rec times and told them, hey, we actually do have these. And then the programs that people asked for that we don't offer, which we have varying levels of ability to offer, were gymnastics, archery, ninja camps, painting in the park, more indoor winter activities for kids, and youth sports leagues. And that was literally all the answers people gave of what they would like that we don't currently offer. Are there any parks amenities you would like to see? I wrote those, everything anybody said here. A lot of people just kind of expressed like, I'm happy with what we have. And kind of relating back to that first slide, people liked the park that they were at and said, give me more of this, even though this is great too. So more splash pads, more pickleball courts. Anything goes on this slide. So as you'll see, they wanted an indoor water park, someone said. Something someone did mention, it was actually mentioned more than once. There's some parks that don't necessarily have access for wheelchairs or strollers to go on some of the trails, or if they do, they might be a little bit overgrown or roots were growing in. Some people mentioned they would like some bathrooms, probably at their small neighborhood community parks. And then just improvements to their small neighborhood community parks as well that people mentioned. And then this is, some specific ones that people mentioned. Like I said, there's a trail at Crosstown West that somebody said has some tree roots. The concession stand had some staffing issues this summer, so a number of people at Crystal Lake said, oh, I'd love for the concession staff to be open. Someone said that Sioux Trail Park has some weeds that need to be cleaned up. Someone who lived next to, I don't even know how to say that, Chateau Lynn Park, said they could use some love. And then Oakleaf West Basketball Court, I have the next slide is about that because one of the engagement sessions was there. The basketball court gets a lot of use, and so it could also use some love. And then there were lots of kids there, and the kids said that they wanted some more swings and a zip line. And that park specifically, I myself was not there, but the people who were there relayed this back to me. They did not see very many adults there. There were a lot of unsupervised kids having great fun playing basketball or just running around the park. The adults who were there said they lived in the apartments near there, and they all said that they did not receive the recreation times brochure. So that was a question that one of my colleagues had about, do the people here actually receive this, and if not, is that something that we can fix? And they recommended, the staff said, maybe we should check into keeping up that basketball court more than we do, because we now see that there's really lots of kids that are here and making use of this park. Whether or not there's adults there as well. Then we also asked if they had participated in a recreation program. The majority said that they had not, and if they had, they had participated in a special event. People talked about events at Magnet Park with dogs that we have. They also talked about Party in the Plaza, and then some very specific, like Juneteenth or Pride, big events that we've had this summer that people attended and loved. At Crystal Beach Park specifically, my colleagues talked to a number of parents and who said they had never attended, and told them about Thursday Rock and Lunch Hour on Flicks on the Bricks, and apparently the parents were very excited to hear about those types of programs because they did not know about them. This is my guess, is that people may accidentally ignore the recreation times brochure. I myself, I am certain, I don't live in Burnsville, but in the 10 years that I've lived in the Twin Cities, I'm certain that I've received lots of, equivalent recreation times brochure and never once noticed one until I started working in recreation myself. So for better, for worse, people just may see some flyer or some magazine and unfortunately just not pay attention to it. That's why they don't know. That being said, of the people that we did talk to, my guess, this is, don't quote me on this exact number, but my guess is that anywhere from like 50 to 75% of people that we did talk to don't actually live in Burnsville. So it makes sense that they did not receive our recreation times brochure. They were at Crystal Beach Lake specifically, or they were specifically at the splash pad at Cliff Bend because that was the closest one to them. My overall impressions here is people generally really enjoyed the parks. If anybody had anything negative to say, they were like pretty nice about it and like, hey, there's some tree roots. Like it'd be nice to, get those fixed. A lot of people that come to our parks are from surrounding communities, not just Burnsville. And then ironically enough, like I said, people enjoyed the park they were at, and if they were at Cliff Bend and they were enjoying the splash pad, they said, give us more splash pads. And then finally that the special events seem to be pretty popular, and our numbers would show that, but the people we talked to also said that as well. So that was our engagement sessions. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, specifically to the part about archery, were they told about the archery program we have?
I do not know. I was not there. I actually read that like as a written comment that
Okay.
for somebody who actually did fill out, and it literally just said the word archery. So potentially my colleague that was there told them about it, but I do not know. But I will ask.
Question.
Yeah.
Was there anyone bring up anything about charging stations for their electric vehicles?
I did not see anything about that, no, and nobody mentioned it in their notes. Does anybody else have any questions?
I was curious about the penetration of knowledge of the programs. And, as you mentioned, printed material doesn't always get, dived
Right.
into very deeply.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If at all. And are there some other mechanisms? I'm not always pushing the online stuff, but is there ways of targeting that? Because, through email or those kinds of communications?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I'm actually glad you brought it up because it was something I wanted to mention. So, for example, we do special events at Magnet Dog Park. This is our second year we've done it, and it's called Howell-O-Ween, and it's a dog costume contest, a puppy parade, and a Tricks for Treats events. And last year we probably had 100 people. This year we probably had 250. I mean, a huge event for only doing it the second year. And my very best guess of why so many people have attended is because for 3 weeks to a month in advance, we've put a large sandwich board right there at the dark park. So we're targeting our target audience. So every single person who goes for the previous month knows, hey, this is an event that's relevant to me, so I can go. So I'm glad you asked, because specifically when my colleagues were at Crystal Lake Beach, many people expressed that they did not know about things like Thursday Rock and Lunch Hour and our Flicks on the Bricks. But if our target demographic is there with kids at Crystal Lake Beach, then potentially we could put out sandwich boards there the week of saying, hey, this movie is going to be this week at Nicollet Commons Park, or this event, because they are there. I do know the communications department does have social media where they do promote those events, but it is for the entire city. It's not just for recreation. So people can't really follow, say, like a Burnsville Park and Rec Instagram to get just recreation events, but potentially doing more targeting at that specific event where we know that demographic is maybe a way to get people to know about those events.
I was just thinking, and I should have jumped there first, but the use of QR codes seems to have penetrated finally pretty well.
Yep.
And, temporary resource or temporary signs, that could, be the equivalent of, a yard sign, those might be another avenue for targeting.
Yep.
Saying you're at Crystal Lake Beach and,
Right.
oh, look at that. There's, people always seem to have their devices with, so
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that might be another mechanism. And I didn't think of it until just you kind of triggered that. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Something we should definitely bring up to Raquel and the communications team, that's something we could do.
And similarly, I'm wondering what would be the possibility of even partnering with the district a little bit at the end of the school year of a handout or something to go home with the kids. Here's what we have going on in the summer. School's done. We'll still keep you busy.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to give you two answers. My first answer is I don't know, but wait. So don't answer it yet. And my second answer is I used to be a school teacher, and I know from my experience, not here at the city of Burnsville, that outside groups trying to get in to give flyers to kids is extremely difficult. So, but maybe you can better answer that, JJ.
Yeah, excuse me. Commissioner Woolman, we have used the school district in the past to help get out whatever literature we have or whatever, but their policies and their ways of sharing that information have changed as well as technology has advanced, and so they've somewhat eliminated outside folks from advertising through the schools or promoting their materials through the schools. But that's not to say we still partner with the school district on some of our adult athletic leagues and things like that. And I know that the community education folks would probably be open to us swapping an ad for space in their brochure versus our brochure, because we do know that there are people that look at both, but there are also folks that just look at the school district brochure for their programming, and there are folks that just look at the city's brochure for programming, and maybe there isn't enough overlap. So that is something we can continue to work with them on, for sure.
Sounds good.
On a similar topic, I guess, I learned about the Halloween parade because I take my dog to Pet Supplies Plus. So obviously there's some local businesses that help promote. Is that something that's frequent with a lot of businesses, or is that just one specific target audience?
Yes, so for a lot of our special events, we do partnerships with local businesses, and I'm so thrilled to hear that that's where you heard about it. They gave us a very large donation as well. But for example, another Halloween event that we did was a drive-through Halloween event, and it was in addition to the Lions Club being there to hand out candy to cars that were driving through. I believe there's 9 businesses that were there to both hand out candy to kids, but also kind of promote their business as well with a big goodie bag of fun treats and also information about their business. My colleague Dave Erdahl works a lot with our business partnerships and sponsorships, and pretty much every big special event that we do, there is a lot of partnership with our local businesses, whether that be a sponsorship or Party at the Plaza. We have lots of local vendors who come. If it's a special event, it's going to have some sort of business and community involvement in that. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Commissioners, this item was just, was on your agenda tonight as information only. There is no formal action required here. We were excited to share with people what we learned over the summer, and this seems to be a great place to do that, so.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Right. We'll now move on to our preliminary 2023 work plan draft, and I'm going to invite Mr. JJ to join us and present.
That's it. All right, good evening, Commissioners. So we are at a point in the year where typically we would get together and sit down and discuss in a, maybe more in a work session format, the upcoming year and what we would like to see put on our work plan. There would be input, there would be conversation, things like that. Given the timeline of things this year, not having a meeting in November, and as we look forward to 2023, the first Monday of the month is a holiday. Typically, when that happens, we meet on the third Monday of the month. That is also a holiday. So we got pushed out a little bit. And so what I've done is I've worked with other departments to generate a list of the items that we know are going to be coming before you. And I think we've got 10 or 11 items here. I think we've got a pretty full list. That doesn't mean we can't entertain additional items if you have other thoughts on things like that. But I'm happy with the list that we have, and I'm going to share that with you now. So first and foremost, we have 7 items that come to you on an annual basis. They've been coming to you for years with a review of a capital improvements plan. We typically do that in January. Next year it'll be February, but I'll bring forward all of the items that are on that list. We do a deer management review. We serve as a citizens panel and public input session for the city's stormwater pollution prevention program. We also receive information from our natural resources folks on the state of our lakes in conjunction with that water pollution prevention program. Annually, we have our sustainability coordinator present to us and give us that dashboard report on the things that she's been working on or we've been working on to improve. We take this item to the work plan, to the city council. We ask for their feedback on it and then ask if they have any additional items they would like us to look at. And then last but not least, and I think this is the newest item that we've added, and this might have been a year ago or 2 years ago, but this commission has been great at it, and that's jumping in to help out at some of the special events as ways to promote our park system, our trail system, even the recreation programs. And that's an item that I think it was a few years ago, you all said, hey, we want to continue to do that as you open up new features or new amenities in the park system and things like that. It really is a good place for you to be in promoting our park system and trails and things like that. So we've added that as an annual activity. So those are the 7 things that will come to you each and every year. Now we get into that list of special projects. Earlier this year, we had our city engineer, Jen Desrud, come to us and talk to us about a multimodal plan for some of the areas in Burnsville. She's been making progress on that all year. We want to bring her back and have her provide us another update. Caleb, one of our natural resources folks, is working on an Alamagna Park restoration project, which is, I know many of you have seen the work that's been done over at Terrace Oaks. Something similar to that. He wants to come talk to us about it. We used to have a house over in Alamagna Park That house no longer exists, and there's talk about putting a pickleball court in that area. That's not without its community engagement and public input, so we would like to be that host for the folks that are working on that project. Ryan Peterson would also like to come back to us and talk to us about the Lake Marion Trail Gap. City staff has been working on a Heart of the City Frameworks Plan update as a way to continue to make the improvements that are now necessary and needed in the heart of the city after its 10 and 15 years of aging. A Center Village Plan update. I know that Regina has been before us earlier this year, but again, work is being done in that area, and we want to be that sounding board for her. We're looking at a replacement of one of the ramps over at the skate park, and this is a significant purchase. And so again, this is the right place for staff to bring this before you so that we can talk about it and why it's necessary and why it's needed, and offer up an opportunity for additional public input. A lot of work has been done lately with Garrett and Caleb in reducing a number of the areas that we mow in our park system. So this turf to prairie conversion projects that we've been doing across our park system, I think we've heard about it, but we haven't really, we now have enough information to present something on how those prairie projects are coming along. One of the things that, has been talked about with this commission before, but I don't think we heard anything about it this year or for the last 2 years maybe, but is the emerald ash borer and where we're at with that in our management of diseased trees. So we'll bring our tree specialist in to talk about those things. Caleb was going to bring to us earlier this year a pollinator lawn demonstration project, and that just got pushed to the side, and so now we're pushing it to 2023, but he tells me they're going to bring it to us in 23. And there are 3 playgrounds in our park system that will be replaced in 2023, and we'll bring those 3 projects back to you for your review and, I guess, approval on those items. So, as I said, I think we've got 11 pretty decent projects, special projects, along with the 6 or 7 items that come before you annually. Commissioners, if you have any thoughts on any of these items, or if you have an item that you would maybe already know of that you'd like to hear more information on, we can add that to the list, or we can have a brief discussion on that right now. But again, given the timeline of where we're at in the calendar year, when we have to present our work plan to City Council, which is typically in February, and when we meet next, Commissioners, if you are satisfied with this list and this work plan, I would entertain a motion to approve this and move this forward for council's approval.
Question of clarification.
Yes, sir.
The multimodal plan update, does that involve connectivity between the different trails with the different parks, and they start to connect to each other?
Commissioner Hamilton, it might to some extent. Our city engineer, Jen Desrud, was before us and talked about creating more bike lanes and trail lanes in shared spaces with automobiles.
Right.
So some of those bike lanes are connections through parks. Similar to Sunset Pond is a primary example, right? Of getting people to and from or in and around the city on the bikeway. So yes, there might be some, it does include some of that trail connection piece.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yes.
So the last time we talked about Lake Marion Trail Gap project, the big issue was funding. Has any of the funding changed?
Commissioner Donaldson, I do not have that answer. I'm hoping that Ryan Peterson, our Public Works Director, does, and that's why he wants to bring this item back to you in 2023.
Are there funding problems with any of the other things that are on the list?
Commissioner Donaldson, that's another very good question. At this point, I do not believe there are any other funding issues with any of these items. Some of the work, some of the projects may, depending on where it's at in the phase, like the Heart of the City Frameworks Plan. I'm sure there are some big ticket items that are in that, but maybe not scheduled for 2023, because the funding hasn't been worked out. It's a tough question to answer.
So this list of 11 is just the list, it's not by priority per se.
Correct. It is just a list of items. Commissioner Hamilton, in generating this list, and I was working with Carolyn McFadden, our sustainability coordinator. She presented to us for the first time this year. She would like to move it back into, or do it in the spring for the whole year before, rather than trying to do it in October for the 9 months of that year. So it's not in any priority list, and it may not be even in a listing of this is going to be January, this is February, this is March. All of those are still to be determined, I guess, when the best timing or the right timing is for each of these items.
So are there funds set aside for the Magnet pickleball court?
I believe that there are, Commissioner Donaldson.
Would that be lighting as well as the court itself?
That's a great question, Commissioner Donaldson, and I hope that when Mr. Peterson presents that, he will let us know. But I believe it does include that. I know that obviously there was a house on that piece of property before, so there is electrical to that area.
Sure.
You know, and that's not one of the challenges of running that line. But I don't know specifically if there is a plan for that or not.
I'm wondering if, when they discuss water quality, if they could sneak in some information on any updates with the drinking water that the city's been looking at, and then any updates with, like I think I've mentioned the last couple of years, Kramer mining and how we're protecting our waterways with the mining and also with the landfill. Squeezing some pieces in there.
Commissioner Woolman, drinking water update. And again, Kramer Mining.
And the landfill.
That's a done deal, isn't it?
I believe it is. So an update would be great.
Okay.
And I'd be curious about, I know now the list is getting longer and longer, and there may be a capacity issues, but fisheries updates relative to the water quality, because we're about ready to see a bunch of little shacks out on a lot of the lakes in town, and to see a lot of activity, and so it'd be good to get a handle on that recreational end of things and how well that's going.
Okay. A fisheries update as it relates to our water quality. Okay.
Yeah, species diversity kind of, and I don't know how much time there is available for fishermen and fisher person satisfaction, but there certainly seems to be a lot of pressure on these bodies of water. So something must be working.
Sure.
Very well, and possibly.
Commissioner Cleveland and commissioners, something as specific as that, I'm not sure if our natural resources folks have those answers. I'm sure they can connect with somebody that does. That is something that I will check in on, obviously, tomorrow and try to get that updated, or get these items updated onto our onto our work plan. However, if they can't, if it's not an item that we can manage, I won't be able to put it on your list. And we can have that discussion. Again, the challenge that we have is the next time we get together is February 6th, I believe. I was trying to target February 7th as the day we bring this to council for their approval. So it might be challenging to get additional items onto the work plan, but we can certainly try.
Well, just wanted to get it on the radar, and whether it's something that, you know, needs to be on the next agendas, I don't think that's necessary, but it's something that I think that,
Great topic,
it's a use that's gonna continue, so.
great topic.
You just want to know where to go catch fish.
Don't we all? My last one that I'd like to throw out there is just an update on the food forest and any expansion conversations around that.
That is something that, you know what, that is something I know that we can provide. It's even with the market garden, and items, market garden, our community gardens, and the food forest. I know that is an item that we can provide. Jess, who was just here and presented to you, she can provide us that information, so I will add that one to the agenda. Or to our list, to our work plan, for sure.
To tie in with water quality in the lakes, I did a lot of kayaking this past summer and had to deal with an awful lot of weeds in the lakes. It's almost seems like the weed situation is starting to encroach on more of the open water. So is that a DNR issue, or is that something that the city looks at?
Caleb has some answers to those issues.
Caleb would have some answers to those issues, commissioners. Specifically, Commissioner Hamilton, how would you like me to phrase that item for the work plan?
Update I'll suggest updating on, aquatic vegetation management.
And invasive like Asian milfoil and,
Right, and Potamogeton crispus and.
yeah.
Okay. Very good. An update on aquatic vegetation management,
Yeah.
that I can add.
All right.
You want a motion?
Do we have a motion?
Commissioners, I would entertain a motion for the 11 special projects and the additional 5 that we've just added.
See, we didn't get to 20.
And the additional 5 that we've just added.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, it passes. Our final item is just a reminder that our next meeting is in February, February 6th, 2023. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Anybody opposed? All right, have a great night, everyone.